way to get my
Greetings and welcome to Circle of Sisters Table Talks, the spiritual podcast where myself, Sacred Woman practitioner Sherry Unk, and my beautiful sister Chantel Cierta Shakim, self care coach. We get into all the nitty gritty of all things holistic wellness, holistic health, and just living as a divine, sacred queen woman that you are.
Ashe. We are so thankful for those of you who are tuning in and who would tune in the repeat or the repeat to get this information. Today, our topic is let it go or honoring your castle. So today's topic is all about cleaning the clutter, cleaning out the clutter. So we all are constantly bombarded with information. We're bombarded with things to do. We're bombarded with all these things that begin to clutter our minds. And so this topic is all about decluttering, right? So what would you add to this as we begin to dive into how do we honor our castle?
Well, when we think about our castle, right, we think about our home. And for many of us, we consider ourselves the queens of our castle, right? But oftentimes, because of our work schedule, because of our lifestyle, maybe even some of the emotional things that we are carrying, like depression, we tend to not honor our castle in such a way of a queen, so that you would be able to feel at peace in our house space. But even beyond the actual physical home, this is where we connect how your home is really a representation, or your space is really a representation of what's going on inside of your mind. Okay, your physical space is a manifestation of what is going on within your mental space. You want to add to that, sis?
Yes, I forgot to say that we are the Soul Sisters speaking out and fixing crowns in the process. So our physical space is definitely a representation mental space or our crown space. So when we begin to think about how we can declutter our thoughts, starting there, we can think about how, the things we do every day can help us to declutter. Um, we are all overwhelmed and bombarded with the way we show up in life and the things that we are um, obligated in a sense, or have to do, or get to do, whichever way you see it. So you spoke on our workplace and how we have to show up every day, and most of us have a job to do. So as we get up in the morning, or even as we go to bed at night, we're thinking about what we have to do tomorrow. So one way that I have always practiced, and we talked about it in another one of our podcasts,
Mhm.
about setting an intention for our day. And as we set that intention, we began to think about, how we want our day to be ease and flow. So cleaning the clutter for me is about truly being intentional about the things that I do put on my plate, the things
Mhm.
that I do put as a priority. And it symbolizes um, being purposeful and intentional with how I show up. Um, One of
Oh,
the practices that I do is to just journal and starting my day and my evening, ending it with gratitude, being thankful for the things that I have been able to do, or the things that I will get to do, or the things that I've accomplished for the day that made me feel successful. So clutter is sometimes looked at as the overwhelming experience, as you said, to
Mm-hmm.
feel like there's too much to do and not enough time. So beginning to look at even our outward homes, we see that sometimes we say, okay, them dishes can wait. Or, okay, I know I needed to fold the clothes, but being able to complete tasks as they show up is one way that we can begin to clean clutter.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you did mention, as women, we wear many crowns, right? We wear the mom crown. We might wear the boss crown because a lot of us are entrepreneurs, so we're wearing that crown. The teacher, the aunt, all of these different crowns we wear sometimes gets too cluttering our mind space, our mental space, and I remember I would have such a hard time going to sleep at night. And there were several things that I was told to do, several tips, and I want to give those tips to some of the women who have a hard time because of the mental clutter, because of that they have a hard time resting at night. One, you mentioned journaling, but a lot of times you think that journaling you have to write out every single thing in perfect sentences and it all has to flow. I was taught a journaling technique called brain dumping, where you just literally write whatever comes to mind. You don't have to write it in no particular order. You can use a blank sheet of paper, so it's not like lines. It doesn't restrict you, but just any thought that comes to mind, you could just dump it on a piece of paper to allow you to clear. It's a great technique to use before you're meditating. So if you have one of those busy minds, sort of like I do, I kind of have to brain dump all of my stresses, all of my worries. I give myself a couple minutes to just dump those things out so that I can go into my mind with a clear head, or I can go to rest or to bed with a clear mind, and I've let those things down. And what I found throughout doing that technique is that when I go to look at the paper later or whatever, after I've rested or whatever, um, I will notice that Spirit has gave me a message within that dump. Oh, this is what I need to work on right now. Or this is where I should be putting my focus because it keeps coming up over and over again. And so that was a technique that I used a lot as I started to transition into letting go of all of the clutter and focusing on a task so that you can get, like you said, on to a point where you're able to handle each task as it comes. Because I was overwhelmed in the beginning,
Yes,
and I
yes.
had to get myself to that space.
It's easy to begin to overwhelm ourselves, right? And
Mhm.
overwhelmed energy, overwhelmed thoughts, or too much going on in our head is a way that, we can begin to see the clutter not only in our outward appearance or in our outward environment, but also in the way that we function every day. So going back to self-care, okay, that we talked about yesterday, it's taking care of yourself first, right?
Mhm.
Taking care of those things that are most important to your mental health before you can move on to the next task. So I've found that, as you said, getting it out however you need to get it out is one step, the first step. And taking care of yourself is that step, taking care to know that, you know what, you're not responsible for doing it all. You're
Mhm.
not. Being able to call on the people around you, being able to call on the people who live in your home to help navigate all the tasks that need to be done.
Mhm.
So, one thing that I also see is as we declutter our minds and begin to jot things down or write them down, as you said, as they come up, it allows us to begin to kind of prioritize what's
Mm-hmm.
most important, as you mentioned. So as we begin to think about what's most important to decluttering your life and honoring your castle, and your body being that castle as well, that is your first temple. That is your first place of um solace. So if
Mm-hmm.
your body is not in good health, if your mind is not in good health, you have to go back to that self-care before you can even start trying to accomplish any task. But oftentimes we're so caught up in, I just got to keep going. I just got to keep going. And it just becomes like a snowball of overwhelm, anxiety, depression, hopelessness. So we want to teach you how to really begin to navigate experiences starting from that space of self-care, and then honoring your temple, honoring your castle, and and orchestrating effective ways to declutter.
Mm-hmm.
And clutter can be anything. Clutter can be symbolic of just dis-ease and discomfort, or manifested as disease and discomfort, or it can be actual, just seeing your environment and that stemming the disease and discomfort because you
Mm-hmm.
just don't have enough time to do it all. So
Mm-hmm.
one way that you can kind of maneuver through it is take little bite-sized pieces, small tasks that you can accomplish, and then celebrate the successes. I'm going to give a story. Y'all know I've been talking about, my body image and really wanting to get to doing the workouts and doing the things to honor myself. And this may be a sort of an oxymoron, but it felt good to me. So yesterday I worked out. Whoop, 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 whoop. I finally got back and did some exercise to honor my body and self care. And then afterwards, I ain't even gonna lie, I sat down and ate a big bowl of ice cream. Ebony Flowers, she had posted, and this was where it came through. She was like, she getting back on her workout. She done let herself go. And then she's like, so now I need to get back on this workout. I was like, girl, we on the same vibe. I posted on Facebook. I was like, I'm right here with you, sis. I done got my workout in, and then I celebrated by eating a bowl of ice cream. Look, everybody in my house was like, that ain't how it goes. But I felt really, really good about it because I was like, I did this. And it's not about, not honoring your cravings or whatever it looks like that you celebrate. It was a small bowl. It wasn't, and it made me feel good. So sometimes we have to really celebrate ourselves in our accomplishments. So that's
Absolutely.
one way that we can start decluttering, because that was very much a success for me. And maybe the ice cream wasn't the best option, but it felt good.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm glad that you honored yourself in that moment because a lot of times we don't think of the micro steps it takes to get to the big step, right? It
Yes.
takes you celebrating each time, honestly, until you're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to be able to do this every day. And now, the next thing we know, you're working out every day and you ain't got time for the ice cream no more.
That
So,
part, or I don't have the craving
or
for
you
it
don't
because
have
I
the craving
begin
for
to
it.
release those things that that
Exactly, because
were
you
that were holding me back.
absolutely because you're doing the work, and I think that this particular area, because I am a person who's very prone to overwhelm, who's very prone to taking on a lot of things and not knowing when to let go. um, this is one of the parts. This is a principle that I have to pay very close attention to because I notice this is how my depression shows up, or when
Mm.
I am going through um, a chaotic mind. This is the way that I'm able to visually see it. When I start to look around my home or my car, and there's a lot of things around, things that should be put away are just sitting out, or trash that should be thrown away is just still sitting out, or whatever. this is the way that I, for myself, have been able to identify, wait, okay, it's time for you to check in. Time for you to go, what's going on? you know?
Right.
And so it's really important for us as we go through these principles, as we look at different aspects of our growth and we're growing in these different areas, that we really take the time to say, oh, okay, now I've identified how I'm out of whack or out of balance in this area because I can visually see what's going on. Because what's going on in your mental space is showing up somewhere in your physical space. You just have to use discernment as to how. Maybe it's you're not letting go of things that you need to let go of physically. Things that are in your house, maybe it's, that you are holding too tight on to things. Sometimes our mental space and our ego can make us hold so tightly on to accolades or positions or different titles that we hold in certain spaces, when it's time for us to let go of that so that it can free up physical space, for us to connect with those in our home or whatever. So really finding out, in this particular area, how that shows up for you, I think is a really great thing that we kind of dive into within this principle as we are, excuse me, learning to honor our crown. We're really figuring out, what is our crown telling us? Is this something that we should be continuing to spend time because it's healthy time, or is it causing us stress, and mental anguish or overwhelm, because it's really pulling, too much from us energetically. So this is the principle where I really feel like you get to really self check.
Yes, you talked about the alignment, right? And how the universe shows us signs outside of ourselves. And I immediately thought about what's within is without,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what we have going on inside of our being is definitely reflected on the outside so that we can see it. And this is where we have to begin to bring those things into alignment, right? Bringing into the alignment of really where our inner energy is needed and where
Right.
it is not needed. Because us as women, we want to be the helpers. We want to be the ones doing. We want to be the one showing up for so many people in so many different ways, as you mentioned before. All of these roles that we hold in our lives, sometimes some of these roles we need to let go of. We
Mm.
need to let go and say, you know what? I don't have the capacity for that.
Mm.
And I can honor delegating it to someone else or allowing someone else to even help us. Because,
Right.
and that's what this circle of sister is all about. It's about having those people around you that can help you declutter and to begin to prioritize the things that are most important in your life. Sometimes we are going that we don't even have the time to think about what's next. We just, whatever presents it, we putting out fires, boom, 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 putting out fires until we finally are completely exhausted in and of ourselves. And
Mm.
that again brings us to the place of feeling out
Mhm.
of control completely. And that opens us up for so many other things.
Absolutely. When we can clear out um, our mental space, we can really begin to visually go into visualizing what spirit the Most High, divine creator, creatress has in store for you, and and what's your purpose. A lot of times we can't even get to finding out our soul's mission or what is our heart speaking to us that we should be, doing into. We can't speak that into existence because we're so bombarded with everything that's going on around us. And I remember, one of the things that I had to come to terms with, when I first approached really cleansing out my mental space, um, was that it's everything. I you mentioned it earlier. I'm not required to do everything, and sometimes I need to ask for help. And so I would, as I had that brain dump, I would look at it. Okay, what things do I need to ask for help with? Because maybe it's stirring in my body because it's something I'm supposed to do, but I haven't asked for help uh, for it, or I'm doing it by myself, and it's not adding up because there's pieces of the puzzle that's missing. And so, what I really love about when you start to clear out your mental space, you really do open up the heart space. You open up your ability to allow others to come in and really help you execute some of the things, the tasks that you need to execute. I know one of the things that I had to do, and everybody jokes about it, is one of the things I had to do. I had to literally hire a housekeeper because I'm like, okay, I had tore one leg, and I have a two-story condo, so I had tore one leg, and I'm like, oh my God, it was already hard for me, to keep up because that's a part of how my depression shows up. But then when I hurt my leg, it was even harder, and I'm like, okay, I gotta ask for help. And I remember at first, a lot of people would say, "You got a housekeeper?" And how often does she come? Oh, they would rip me a new one for having a housekeeper, and I had to make peace within my own being that that was something I needed. I needed that help with. That don't mean I ain't supposed to clean up every day, but that means the hard stuff like mopping the floor, the things that you do have to do regularly. Otherwise, it will look a hot, stinking mess in your in your home. I had some help with, and oftentimes you asking for help in certain areas may look weird to other people. It may be strange or off putting, or we don't do that, but black women ain't never hired no housekeepers. Well, guess what? Now you know one.
But you know
Because
what? That's true. That's true. But we think about how queens show up. Queens aren't always the ones doing the housework around the
right.
house. Right. And
Okay.
and that's putting yourself in a space where now you don't have to worry about that. That
hmm
is something that you are receiving help from that is necessary, right? And it's very esteemed. I wish I could give me a house cleaner. And maybe eventually, I remember you sharing that with me before, and I was like, girl, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
And when we are able to do that, we're also helping someone else be fortified in their lives because they have that time to give and it's their business. So
hmm
being able to support someone else by allowing them to do something that they're great at is a win-win, and it takes that off our seat, off our plate. So I'm 100% supportive of getting a house cleaner, getting a housekeeper, someone to help you remove the things. Ultimately, you're still going to have to clean some stuff because
Right.
you can't wait for someone else to come in and do all of it, but it's the heavy things, the heavy lifting or the deep cleaning that
Right.
sometimes I just don't have the time or energy to do that. So
hmm
being able to have someone come in. So this is what the embracing the queen within is all about too. It's about giving you some tools that will help you begin to spiritually begin to do that deep clean so that it doesn't overflow into clutter into your outer space. So as we go into just even connecting the cleanliness to our intuition, to our inner knowing, to our inner peace, as you mentioned before. This is where it starts. We have to begin to let go of the things that no longer serve us in helping us get to where we want to go. And it starts again, as I mentioned before, with caring for ourselves and then bringing in help to help us in the areas that we need. So, do you want to talk a little bit about the the way that our intuition plays in as we clean out the clutter? What does it help our intuition to do, or help
Yeah,
us, how does it help us connect more so to our intuition?
absolutely. When you are learning and throughout these principles, you are really investigating yourself. And so when you go to a point where you start to remove those things that are clear, that are really blocking you from being able either to hear, see, or feel what spirit is trying to tell you, or how spirit is trying to guide you. And for each of us is different. Like, our gifts are different. We may be stronger in certain areas. But when your mind is literally cluttered with things that aren't serving you, you're not able to really hear, or even tap into the Queen Gene, the
Queen
goddess
Jean, I
Gene.
like that.
You're not able to tap into that internal power because you are so distracted by everything else that's in front of you. You know, prior to the call, we were talking about, oh, we were getting some views, but it's hard for people to stay tuned in. And everything that I've watched in regards to setting up podcasts and everything really talks about how our attention span as a culture nowadays, and that's for everybody, our attention span is so weak that we're not able to really sit and divulge time into one thing. We're like scrolling up and looking at the next. And because of that, there is so much that's running through our mind. We can't even digest the good piece of substance that we got from that one great video because we scrolled and we watched 100 more after that. And so, really, this is where we're like, no, it's time for you to really focus on what you're trying to focus on. And in order to do that, you have to start clearing out the clutter, because that's the only way you'll get into alignment with the messages and the guidance you're supposed to receive. And so that's one of the ways that I think you really learn to tap into your intuition, when you start to let go of all of these things that your mind is holding on to, and you really start to focus inward on yourself. You start to understand yourself better. We've been trying to understand ourselves through other people for majority of our lives, and how other people deal with us, how other people approach us. And when we start to stop, when we say, okay, no, I'm not looking outside of myself no more to see how I'm perceived or received in the world. I'm going to go within, and I'm going to really check in with myself. And only when we start to clear out the clutter can we really do that.
Yes, I definitely would agree with that, because our intuition is a part of us, is a part of our essence, right? And there's so many things that distract us from the essence of being who you are. So as you begin to take time to declutter your mind, you are opening up to your heart space. And in that space, you can begin to get messages of really what's the priority, what's the most important thing for you to do. So as we tap into embracing the queen within, this principle is really all about being able to see yourself from the inside out, and not being able to be so distracted from the things on the outside. Oftentimes we come into these spaces where now we are able to sit down or slow down, and we again begin to distract ourselves. We distract ourselves with social media, scrolling, as Lady Ankh said, and we distract ourselves with just mindless activities that still take away from sitting still, sitting quiet. If we took the time to meditate, or to just sit in quiet or sit in silence and just allow, the things that have happened during the day to just come up and release them without putting more into us, we can begin to tap in more so to our intuition. And one of the ways that I've seen this in my own life is just how I've made it a practice to, even at night, to just release everything that had went on for that day and sit silently. I know you talked about too how you make it an intention to lay your phone down at least 2 hours before going to bed. And that is a time where if we took as much time with ourselves as we do with our social media, we could really learn a lot about ourselves. We could really learn about what it is that's most important from our essence, from our soul center. I put an app on my phone where it monitors the amount of time that I spend on social media. And each week I'm determined to make it less. But I seen one week where it said I spent 4 hours less on social media than I had the week prior. And I'm like, wow, if I've spent 4 hours on social media, most of it being just scrolling, like you said, getting information, seeing what other people were doing, not really concentrating on myself. What if I took 4 hours to concentrate on me? Even in a week's time, over a period of a week span, how much more would I be in tune with what's important to me and not distracted or putting in more information that is like clutter? So I encourage everyone to just really begin to be mindful of the time that you're spending doing the just leisurely scrolling or the leisure things that are not edifying yourself, because that's what clearing the clutter is. We have so much opportunity to take in, but are you really sitting with what's within you? What's in your heart space? What's really going through your mind? Are you taking the time to let go of the stuff that doesn't serve your ultimate highest good? Because we're in an era now that you can get things, more information. Information is available out there, boom, boom, boom. But is that information you're receiving helping you to begin to show up as your best self? Or is it putting ideas and thoughts into you that make you feel less of yourself, or make you feel like you have to compare yourself to other people when you could be taking that time to do your own work and to begin to be purposeful in the things that you're doing? That's how you honor your castle. That's how you honor yourself. That's how you really begin to live in the queendom that is serving you. We talked about people coming in to serve you, but also being able to attract the things that serve you. So I know, on social media, you can get involved in a whole bunch of self-help stuff too, because that's kind of what I do. It's a whole bunch of information to help me be better, or positive affirmations. But now that I've taken it in, am I taking the time to implement it into my life? And that's what honoring the castle is all about. You have to take in, then you have to let go, or you have to take in and then you have to water your own garden.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I really want to take this time to thank all of you who have been sitting with us, and have been called to tap in periodically and get some of the information or all of the information if you've been watching it on replay. I would encourage you, if you have a friend that may be interested, tap them, tag them so that they can get this information. One of the things that we are really stressing to do is to change the algorithm, to put some things on there, some food for thought, so that you guys, you gals, have the opportunity to get this information. We know a lot of the information we are giving on these platforms may be new to many of you. And it might be a lot to digest. And that's one of the reasons why we're saying take time for yourself so that you can process some of the things that you've been receiving, so that you can see, is there something within this area that I may need to let go of, so that I can really shift myself into a more productive way of life, a more productive um, way of handling a particular situation. And these principles that we are giving, because we are giving you nuggets of the principles as we prepare for our cohort, these principles that we're giving, and we're giving you these nuggets, really take the time to investigate within yourself where you stand within that. Because I would bear to say that the things that we pay attention to are Spirit's way of constantly giving us message. And so if you've been feeling overwhelmed, you've been feeling stressed out, you've been feeling really like, oh, something needs to change, but I don't know what needs to change. You know, I have some things going on that I really would just like to connect with the right people so that I can be, you know, with like-minded women, or I can be in a circle that really supports some of the things that I've been interested in learning about, but I really don't have a way in. If you had any of those worries or those stressors or any of those things come up for you during the course of watching this broadcast, or maybe even before you started watching this broadcast, then we really want you to tap in, because we are not only giving you these principles, but you are getting one-on-one coaching with the both of us. You are really getting not only a wealth of knowledge, but you're getting invited into a sisterhood that is literally global. You're being invited into a sisterhood of women who are committed to teaching this information and sharing this knowledge. And we really understand that it is a lot. You know, it's a lot, because what we're asking you to do for 12 weeks is to let go of whatever is keeping you from showing up for you, you know. And that is where the going really gets tough, because we can let go of things. Letting go isn't the problem. It's when we have to let go of something in order to serve us that we feel we have to justify it. And I'm telling you right now, to those of you who are watching this, you don't have to justify letting go of whatever it is that is preventing you from taking that step to really prioritizing yourself. And that's what we ask you to do within the program. That's what we're telling you with letting go and honoring your crown, is really about letting go of whatever is stopping you from showing up for you in the highest possible way you can show up for yourself. Let go of the fear, the doubt, the trauma, the insecurities, whatever it may be, whether it's physical, you know, mental, spiritual. We're going to let go of whatever it is that is preventing us from really showing up in our queendom, for really, you know, putting our crown on and honoring ourselves as that royal being that we are. And so that's really what I wanted to add to this, because I see so many of you working really hard. I'm on there scrolling just like the best of us, you know, and I see so many of you doing the work, and I see so many of you that are out here really, you know, experiencing life in a whole different way, and I commend you. And for those of you who are curious, this is what this is for you. Excuse me. Woo, I'm clearing out the clutter too, as y'all can see.
Yes, it's very much, you know, our bodies are our first sign, right? I
Mm-hmm.
know as I begin to dive into me, I begin to have these not only coughing episodes, but I've been having these burping episodes when I find a aha moment, and I'm like, oh, that was something that needed to come up. I'll burp. And I hadn't drank nothing. I hadn't done anything. I'm just sitting. And Spirit began to show me that we have to make space. We have to make space for those things that are coming into us that we need for our survival. And these skills and these tools really are what we need. You know, we are not not the complete, we have not mastered these skills. And every time that we begin to speak out about it, it helps us make space for what we are learning and how we can really see it being applied to our lives. So not only is it that we are willing to give tools to you, you and your experiences will be able to pour back into us. And that's the growth. That's how we decrease the clutter as a collective, because it's not one person knows more than the other, but you may have an interest and haven't ever even had the opportunity to explore what it looks like to live your queenly life. You may have ideas of what it looks like. You may have had visions of what it looks like, but you're like, in the way that I'm showing up right now, I don't even see that possible. But it is. It really, in fact, is possible. It's just about really beginning to learn how to do it and then put it into action, because it's not about just getting information. It's about now changing the way we show up. And this is a lifestyle. It's not a one and done. Even though we're going to take you through a 12-week intensive, diving deep into each principle for 7 days, this is going to be an unfolding month after month, year after year, of you learning yourself, and then you putting these new ways of showing up into practice. And it is something that takes your attention. It takes you tapping into your own knowing and then trusting it enough to act upon it. So as Lady Unk said, if you are coming into this space or even having an interest, you have a connection with either of us, and you know how we show up. We are coming to you in our truth, in our rawness, in our authenticity, in knowing that, we don't have it all figured out, but we've been doing this long enough that we know when we're falling off. We know when we may not have made the best choices, and we have the tools to go back into our medicine bag and say, you know what, I need to start working with this principle a little bit more to help me to fortify myself in that space. Because again, we're humans having a spiritual experience. And this work is where we say, where practical spirituality meets our holistic health. And that's a way of life. That is a way of life. And we invite you to come into this space, come into this journey with us, and begin to declutter your castle. Begin to declutter the things that no longer serve. Begin to make space for the things that are waiting to be presented to you, but you've been so bogged down and so heavy, burdened in most cases, with all this other stuff that you feel like you have to do, when in fact you really don't. Mm-hmm. And it's really about head, mind, and heart coherence. When we begin to find the struggle and the clutter, it's because our hearts and our minds are not aligning. They're not aligning to the truth of what we should be doing. It's not aligning to the life that we should be living. It's not aligning to the friendships that we have in our inner circle, that maybe we need to move the certain friendships or relationships back into the outer courts and not be so close to you. And then begin to utilize detachment, really saying, you know what, I'm not attached to anything but me. And then those other things that align to me and to my highest self will begin to me. But we have to, as Sherry Young said, let go of those things that are causing us the dis-ease, the disharmony, the frustration, the anxiety. And begin to make space for those things that allow us to feel better in our space, in our bodies, in our relationships. And then continually building on that layer after layer, or removing the layers of, okay, this is too heavy, this ain't for me, and letting it go with unapologetically, because people gonna be mad, people gonna speak against it, people gonna say what you're doing wrong, but you have to know, by trusting your own intuition, by trusting, you know what, I'm going to do this because I know it's best for me.
Mhm.
And this is where we invite you to join us on this journey, you know, to know that you don't have to do it alone. There are people out here doing this side by side, right with you in real time, And it doesn't change overnight. And it's not to say that the 7 weeks or the 7 days is going to give you a big shift, but it will definitely shift your
Absolutely.
perception. It will definitely shift your
It will
perception.
give you clarity. It will definitely give you clarity. And that's one of the reasons why we break the principles down and we give them to you week by week so that you can attack pretty much your whole life one area at a time. With each week, with each principle, we really deep dive into one area focus at a time. And that allows you to get clarity within that week span. You will be when you're just focusing on this particular principle, you're focusing on that area alone. And so it gives you the time to focus and see, what do I need to let go of? What are some of the things I need to maybe double down on? Like, I'm good here, but if I let go of all of this, then I could double down in this area, and this may help to provide some balance and get me back on track. And we go through that each week. I'm super excited. We start in less than a week. We
Yes.
open up for our welcome, so I'm very, very excited. We do have some space available. So if you're interested in joining the circle, please come join the circle. For the 12 weeks, we do have a scholarship. Did you want to mention something
Yes,
about the
yes.
scholarship?
So I know we have spoken about this for several days now, and we really want you to share with your sister friends, share with the women in your life that you know may benefit from this, because this is a work of embracing the queen within, and every woman needs to have that in the forefront, you know, of how do I really truly embrace myself. And we are offering a scholarship. We're offering a buddy program. So if you and a sister, you and your physical sister, you and a sister friend want to come into the program, we do have wonderful discounted rates for that. And also we are offering it to those who may have financial hardships right now
Mhm.
that would love to take the program, but your finances don't support it in this moment. We have plans to help make that affordable and even free. But it is a commitment. You know, it's really where you put your money where your mouth is. You put your money where, you know, you want to see a change. We put our money into things that we want to get a return from. So that's where the money does make a difference, because it is the flow. You put money where you want to go. So that's why it has a cost to it. But we do not want you to sleep on this. If you feel that this is for you and you really feel your heart saying, I wish I could do it, but I just don't have the money, please don't let that keep you from this opportunity, because
Absolutely.
this is something that I say, freely give, freely receive, but know that you are being called to do the work. You are truly being called to do something different. And even if it is the commitment to say yes to yourself and know that the money will follow, do that. Please do that. Um, because this is something that is priceless, really. It's priceless,
Really.
because this is what you will learn in this program will help you all the days of your life. And it will also help you to be able to help someone else once you've released all those other things that you've been trying to help somebody do or trying to show up for somebody else to do. You can begin to have tools to help them be able to navigate their own life in a way that is beneficial, not only to yourself, but to them as well. So we're talking about each one reaching one, each
Each
one
one.
building their queendom, and then beginning to build empires together, because we
Yeah.
can do it. We are the women who lighten the darkness, and that darkness is lightened when we all begin to show our light and begin to come forth as light. in the darkness, in our own situations, because it can be very dark. You can find yourself alone. And as Sherry spoke about, we build on principle after principle after principle after principle. So what you're going to learn in the first principle, you'll utilize that same to build on the second principle, to build on the third, to build on the fourth. So at the end, when you are taking your scepter and saying, boom, 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 I'm changing up everything around me so that it allows me to reign and rule with power, with authority, with confidence, with knowing that your intuition doesn't lie. And the universe guides you into where those spaces need to be changed, or those areas that you and only you can impact. So please, please, please join us in this journey. Join us, reach out to us. We will also put the link for the class in the comments. And we are here to support. You know, as we help you, we help ourselves. And that goes for you as well. As you help you help others. So join us.
Absolutely. I am super excited, sis. I'm on countdown mode over here. Because I have so many new jewels. You know, this study that we do, it's ongoing. It's a lifestyle. And I love the fact that you touched and mentioned that we're not perfect. We don't claim to be perfect. We are truly through and through soul sisters that are really just speaking out on the things that we know about and the things that we've worked on. And we're sharing those gifts and those tools with those of you in the community. So if you're feeling called to join us and to join our circle of sisters, we embrace that, and we look forward to seeing you all in the circle. Now, earlier in the call, before we got on, sis, you pulled a card for us, and we don't know what it is, but you will be sharing with us live. So are you ready?
Yes. So neither one of us looked at it. I shuffled and just really, again, I utilize oracle cards as a confirmation to the words that we speak, because the universe always allows us to get answers and confirmation. So as we speak about the things on our hearts and our minds, we ask that we get confirmation. For me, it comes in the way of pulling cards. Sometimes it comes in lots of ways, but the one that I utilize as part of my meditative way of connecting to spirit, to God energy, to source energy, is to pull a card. So we ask that the ancestors show up. As you have all probably already heard, if you've been watching our podcast, we are using Secrets of the Ancestor by Abiola Abrams, and the card is Booyah! The Deviant. Okay.
Oh.
The Deviant says chaos,
Mm.
and destruction. Okay. How much does clutter resemble or symbolize chaos and destruction? We spoke about dis-ease and how we begin to find dis-ease in our house, in our home, in our hearts, because we haven't let go of things. So let's see what the medicine, and it's number 16. So the deviant is chaos and destruction. We all have seen that in our lives in one way or another. So how do we kind of work with this chaos and destruction? So the deviant, it says, I'm ready. That is our affirmation. I'm ready. Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide. Hey, I'm gonna find you. Okay, so look, this is saying, our ancestral medicine says we all have monsters, abusers, and enslavers in our bloodline, mainly ourselves. You know, that's who it is. You are not your past, and you are not your family. Gift yourself with a trauma healing therapist, coach, or practice.
Wait a minute. Wait, it did not help.
That is the medicine. So yes, come into this circle, sis, because we all have chaos and destruction that is about to kill us. So if you come into the circle, we can be that guide. We can be that mentor. We can be your own reflection, right? In knowing that we've all been there, but we are here to build each other up, not tear each other down. Our own inner demons our own inner demons are the ones that cause us to feel cluttered. It's the resistance to showing up as your true self. So if you gift yourself with your own special therapist or counselor or mentor or guide, we can help you work through that. So we give thanks for that message. We give thanks for the destruction of our old ways and our old patterns and the old way we thought we had to show up, so that we can embrace and expand and build a kingdom and a universe that is supportive of our growth and supportive of us shining our brightest light. So until next time, we are so thankful.
Circle of Sisters Table Talk.
Yes, Soul Sisters speaking out
out
and fixing crowns in the process. Until next time, peace and love.